What's going on YouTube? My name is GinJTCG or Chris, and today I'm back with another crazy Pokemon deck list, and this one is gonna revolve around Articuno and Cramorant. That's it. That's the whole deck. It's just these two attackers, and we got a Ditto for support. It's actually nuts. I found this list on Limitless from Nelson Gulen, and I definitely wanted to check it out. I definitely also pronounced that name wrong, so I apologize if you know the proper way to pronounce it, or you're watching this video. Definitely let me know so I can pin your comment and give everyone credit for your list, because this list is insanely fun, totally nuts, and kind of how I wanted to start closing out the Surging Spark set, because soon we will get Prismatic Evolutions. But, like I mentioned, it's just Articuno and Cramorant. So Cramorant is your only attacker. That's it. This is the only way you're doing damage. We got some jet energy, but other than that, we got no energy to use any attack other than Spit innocently. If you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone, you ignore all energy in this Pokemon's attack cost, which is massive because we got 110 damage here, but we also have Crisis Punch. And since we're only playing single prizers in this deck, your opponent theoretically should always have 1 prize remaining at some point, so you can swing a Crisis Punch for 280 damage on the last turn of the game. We are also playing 4 copies of the Articuno with the Ice Symbol ability, where all of your basic water Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you have 4 Articuno in play, you could buff Spit innocently all the way to 150 damage, which is 2-shotting every single basic EX or stage 1 EX in the game. And if you're worried about those pesky stage 2 EXs such as Charizard and Dragapult, don't be, because we played Defiance Band on top of that. So as long as you swing with Defiance Band once with a Cramorant that's swinging 150, you could bring that up to 180, allowing you to 2-shot any Dragapult or Charizard or even Gardevoir EX you might see. So the addition of those tools is kind of crucial to the deck working, and then we just have one Ditto with transformative start. So once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot on the first turn of the game, you can switch any Pokemon in play with this Ditto and then discard Ditto. So basically it just kind of gets you an active Cramorant. This is what allows us to have an effective 5 Cramorant start, because Ditto is just like allowing us to get that higher percentage of leading Cramorant, so we don't have to worry about switching out Articuno. If you get what I mean, it's like when you're opening hand, like you could have either Articuno, Cramorant. The Ditto just kind of puts the math more on the Cramorant because that's what you want in the active. You always want to go second with this deck, and it's honestly not super hard to pull off a turn 1 attack. So to make sure we're doing that, I'll go through the supporter count first, which I'm pretty sure is what I usually do, but then the items are where things get a little weird. So of course we're playing a Lost Zone engine. We're rocking 4 Colress's Experiment. Because we're playing all water Pokemon, I'm playing 1 copy of Irida as well. I kind of like the 1 Irida. It gets you a Cramorant, and then it also gets you Precious Trolley, which allows you to get a backup Cramorant as an attacker, as well as 4 Articuno, and just kind of fill up your bench. So it's really all you need to do. For the late game, we got 2 copies of Boss's Orders as well as 2 copies of Roxanne. Since your opponent will be at less than 3 prize cards for hopefully a couple turns, there is a big possibility that if you could find 2 Roxannes, you actually can pull off double Roxanne each game you play this deck, which is kind of sweet. So, to dig out to the supporters and make sure we're getting 4 cards in the Lost Zone effectively and quickly, we've got 4 copies of Pokégear to dig through the top of our deck, as well as 2 copies of Call Bell. So if you go second during your first turn, you can just search for Colress instantly and stick it into your hand, which is super nice because we play 3 copies of Vacuum. So if you could find those and Pokemon League Headquarters, you could play Colress turn 1 as well as Vacuum and League Headquarters to get rid of your Stadium, a card from your hand, and get 5 cards in the Lost Zone. So if you know your opponent plays a Stadium or a Tool, then you could also Lost Vacuum that way. Regardless, you'll be getting 4 cards in the Lost Zone, because to use Vacuum you have to Lost Zone a card as well. Or no, excuse me, you need your Tool in play, because, or your Stadium, because you have to do that to get a bunch of cards in the Lost Zone to use Cramorant's attack. Yeah, I don't know why I said your opponents. It's not your opponents. You want to open up with getting one of your Stadiums in the Lost Zone. I guess if you need, you could get rid of a Defiance Band. You really don't want to get rid of Crisis Punch, though. Getting rid of Defiance Band is scary if it's a Stage 2 deck. If you're up against a basic EX deck like Raging Bull, honestly, if you find Defiance Band, you could totally Lost Vacuum that away turn 1. It's not the end of the world, and it's not really hard at all to pull off a turn 1 attack. And if you can't pull off a turn 1 attack, you most definitely can start attacking second turn, and that's fine. Like, you might fall a little behind, but this deck has good comeback potential because it's only single prize Pokemon and it's consistently hitting for a lot of damage. Now, to make sure that we're keeping these Pokemon in play, we are also playing 3 copies of Night Stretcher, really just to pull back Cramorants. Rarely are you going to take an Articuno with it. I feel like most of the time your math kind of works out where your opponent has to keep targeting down Cramorants, or you'll just be left with attackers, so your Articunos can sit there often for most of the game pretty well. We've got 2 copies of Counter Catcher because a lot of times we'll fall behind, you know, after they take the first KO or something like that, since we're a 2-shot deck where, you know, we're hoping to swing a Cramorant twice to take KOs, so Counter Catcher allows us to gust up things that we've swung some chip damage into. We also are playing 1 copy of Pal Pad, so if we did prize a boss's orders at Roxanne, and after we use one of those, we want to Pal Pad them back, maybe get another Colress as well, we totally can. It's a huge option for this deck, and then we can dig it out with our high count of Pokégear. We're playing 2 copy of Rod. That is more of your Articuno bag, so if your opponent actually did go Gust KO and Articuno, you probably want to Rod that one back, and then just kind of search it out and find it as you need it, whereas Night Stretcher works a bit better for Cramorant. 4 switch outs. We're playing as many as possible. We got 4 copies, of Switch, as well as 4 copies of Switch Cart and 4 Jet Energy. So if your opponent tries to boss stall you with Articuno, you should hopefully be able to get around that nicely and just keep swinging with Cramorant. So, this deck does have one glaring weakness, and that is Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. I'm not going to lie, you really don't have a way around that unless you can Gust around it and take KOs, which isn't impossible. It's actually very doable. You play a lot of Gust if you think about it with 2 Boss's Orders and 2 Counter Catchers, and then you could clean up something with the TM Technical Evolution. I think if you're that worried about Cornerstone Ogerpon, you can totally stick in a Canceling Cologne, take it out with Crisis Punch here at the late game if you could Gust around it. Overall, though, if you're playing a deck like this, I don't think you're too worried about Ogerpon, so if there's someone at your locals that's running like Quad Ogerpon, like Quad Mimikyu Ogerpon, maybe don't bring this deck. But in general, especially playing on the ladder, this deck is not it's not an expensive deck. There's no EXs, no Vs, there's no insane supporters that you probably have to go out of your way to get. You probably have most of these anyways. So it works very well, it's very cost effective, and it's overall just a really fun and very unique deck, you know, for a Lost Zone deck to only run Cram. We've seen Cram in Lost Zone with Articuno before to boost its damage a long time ago, but never without Comfeys and Sableyes and whatnot, and you could totally stick that in, but then it just becomes a Lost Zone deck, and everyone knows what the Lost Zone box is. So I'm like, you know what, let's just have some fun. Let's just use Cram, that's it. We don't need anything else, let's just use Cram. I saw the list, I was like, this list is phenomenal. Played a few games, didn't even feel like changing anything. I think where your versatility could come from is by switching up the stadium, if you want. I think Pokemon League Headquarters is really nice because it kind of slows down those basic EX decks, like those turbo decks that fly through their deck really well and can consistently keep attacking and switching out. This stadium is a phenomenal stadium to slow those down. But past that, you could even look into playing Town Store to dig out your own tools in case you don't want to vacuum it away. You could look into taking out, you know, like a stadium that deals with retreat cost or something like that, making it harder for your opponent to retreat. There's a lot of options with this deck, and you don't have to worry about the retreat cost for yourself because you play so many switch cards, so you should be able to get around that anyways. So that is pretty much it for the deck list. I mean, we got 4 Nest Balls, 1 Heavy Ball, just to make sure, again, we're getting out Pokemon every chance we get. The Nest Balls are in great early game. If you could get Precious Trolley with Irida, I would recommend that. But if you have to go Rod, get some Pokemon back, that's kind of why we're still playing a high count of Nest Ball. And 1 Heavy Ball, really just in case we prize an Articuno or 2. We kind of want to take that out, make sure we're doing as much damage as possible. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the list. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I definitely cannot wait to get into these 3 matches and see how it does. But also, before we do that, I just wanted to remind everyone I got that TCG player affiliate link. So, if you are like myself and you play a bunch of card games and you love going to in-person tournaments and you're ordering some cards, some deck accessories, some deck boxes, whatever it is for no matter what card game, click on the link down below. It'll take you to TCG player as normal, and then you'll be able to support the channel while doing your normal shopping that I know you're doing anyway. So thank you guys so much to everyone who's been using TCG player and clicking on my link before they use TCG player. I for real appreciate y'all. Now, let's get into the deck and see how well we can do with just Cramorant. That's really it, man. It blows my mind how it's just Cram. Anyways, sorry for the cut. I made a really bad pun with Cram. Let's hop into the deck, see how we do. Welcome to match number 1. We open up with a decent hand. I mean, we got Colress, we got Articuno, and we got Switch cards. So, you know, if we could Colress into something useful, we'll be able to start cooking real quick. So I'm definitely excited to get going with this one. And I also wanted to say, if you haven't seen, we got the Rogue Regionals coming up. The clock is ticking on February 8th. So if you are like me and you love watching Rogue decks run and do their thing, Well, I've got an in-person tournament that I'm going to be live streaming with a bunch of my buddies and I, where all of us are only playing the most insane rogue deck. So definitely tune into that stream if you want to see which rogue deck is the best in the format right now. And that's obviously subjective to what we all think it is and what we want to play. And my opponent is playing an insane list, clearly. I mean, they're going first. They got triple Duskull down with Radiant Charizard in the active and Charmander on the bench. Definitely excited to see what they're cooking with this one. The triple Duskull is a little scary. If they actually pull off a triple Dusknoir, that would be a little insane. But we can definitely take it down, especially depending on what we Colress into. We need Vacuum and a Stadium, which hurts a little bit. Kind of a big order, but I think we could get there. I lied, not with this hand. Actually, you know, we can't really do much with this hand, to be honest. I think here we're going to go Vacuum and maybe Night Stretcher. We really don't need a Switch or a Jet. I really don't have any playable cards. I think that actually might just be a big old fat pass from us because I really can't do anything. So if my opponent can pull off Rare Candy Dusknoir, well, that's gonna be a really rough game one, now wouldn't it? If they can go Rare Candy Charizard, well, that's also kind of in the same boat. And right now they get Steady Fire Breathing, and then they get the Ultra Ball down. They get rid of Arceus and Fez. Okay, this was definitely not what I assumed it was. I did not see this being an Arceus deck at all. It's actually kind of nuts. And they failed the Ultra Ball to go Research. Okay, and they get rid of a Charizard. I'm confused, a little lost. But I guess I'm not complaining too much yet. It seems like we have a little bit more time to hopefully draw ourselves out of this predicament. If I could just get another Colress or even an Irida top deck, well, I'd feel so much better because that would allow me to keep playing the game, get Cram in the active. Even though it can't get KO'd, it is much easier to leave Cram in the active than Articuno because I kind of need those to boost damage, especially if I'm staring down a Charizard EX. So we get a Pokégear top deck. That's huge. That's kind of everything I needed, and boom, that's another Colress. So now, if I pull off this Colress, I'll be swinging with Cram, swinging for KO, and there's the Cram. That's kind of everything I need. And you know what? We'll get rid of one more Switch card. So we got 3 switches, effectively, in the active, because our Jet energies really just function as switches, which is fine. We can Precious Trolley here, take all the Articuno out of our deck. We've got, what, 4 in the bench? So you know what? I'll take all the Articunos, 1 Cram. We did prize an Articuno, which could be very, very relevant in this deck. We got Heavy Ball, so we could try to dig that out. And we got another Cramorant too. So this actually doesn't feel too bad, I'm not going to lie. What I could do is just switch into a Cram. I don't even mind keeping this 1 Cram in hand in case I get Articuno out of the prize cards. So we're just going to switch cart, heal up the Articuno, just in case. You know, I don't know what damage counters they might be spreading. I really don't feel like dealing with any of them. I'm just going to swing for KO, get ahead on the prize trade, take my prize card, and honestly pray it's Articuno because that's really all I need to keep going. It's a switch card, which isn't bad though. And my opponent promotes Duskull, so we'll see if they got anything. And something super interesting to note with this deck as well, which hit me after playing it for a bit, is you can actually gust KO Squawk abilities at certain points with Cramorant. I mean, there is a huge world where my opponent could get ahead on prize cards. I've got Defiance Band, and now I'm swinging for 160 damage. I mean, last turn we swung for what? 140, I believe it was. We'll see. So that was their last turn. Yeah, I swung for 140. So, you know, if I could pull off a good Defiance Band play, that's actually a very big possibility. And there's the Articuno we needed to fill up their bench. So ideally, like the ideal board state for this deck, 2 Cramorants, 4 Articunos, and that's it. That's the whole squad. That's the entire deck. We're not doing a single other thing other than attacking every turn at that point and just swinging for consistent damage. So we really don't do much. This is going to be a big video for, I guess, just me yapping to yap and more seeing what my opponents are playing and how they deal with consistent 2-shot damage, because we're not one-shotting much unless it's unevolved like last turn. Every now and then we'll take a big boss KO and something like Squawkabilly EX, maybe a Lumineon V. Maybe we can't push Rotom or Mew, and we can't really KO big fire Pokemon because our attacks aren't affected by weakness, and there's a pass from my opponent. So that's what I'm talking about, where, you know, we're just gonna Night Stretcher now. I know I literally said I don't use this much for Articuno, but Might as well, right? I mean, to swing 150 feels pretty good. So we'll swing 150 there, take another prize card. Now we are 2 prize cards ahead on my opponent's Arceus Charizard Dusknoir deck. I've yet to see them truly get going. Another Colress definitely doesn't feel bad. I've got no problems digging through my entire deck. However, this isn't a normal Lost Box deck. Once we have 4 in the Lost Zone, I really don't care what else is in the Lost Zone. So my opponent will actually get the Charizard EX down. That could cause some problems, I'm not going to lie. Especially because we're not going to use Defiance Band. Sadly, this might be a scenario where we could be potentially 3-shotting it, unless I like top deck boss or something like that. We're too far ahead. You know, like I can't use Defiance Band when I'm this far ahead. They're taking their 4th prize card, or their 2nd prize card, so they got 4 remaining. I've got 3. Unless they pull off Dusknoir next turn. That actually would help us, because then I would be able to close it out by KOing Charizard EX. So we'll smack Cram down there. I've got another Cram in hand. Fully plan on using that right now. And a Nest Ball, which actually doesn't feel too bad either. So for now, I'm just going to go Cram. And yeah, we really can't do much. I might as well... I don't even want to use Colress, to be honest. I feel like there's no card I want to look for. And it's an Arceus deck. That means they could play Heavy Judge, Heavy Iono. I would love to be judged or Iono'd into a Colress. And there's nothing I'm looking for at this point. It's like, what, am I going to get another Defiance Band? It really doesn't do anything right now. I think for us, we just swing 150. See how my opponent responds, and then take it from there. I mean, when they take the KO this turn, which is inevitable, we're going to go Roxanne. I'd love to draw into a Colress off Roxanne. That just makes me feel a ton better. And... what else could they do? I mean, a counter catcher, that's fine. You could take Articunos. I'll rod them back if I must. And you can Ultra Ball. Oh, we get rid of Dusknoir. Okay, I was going to say, I hope you get Arceus and you go Rick and you Dusknoir. But that's their 2nd one in the discard pile, so that doesn't feel great. And they fail it again. And there's the Iono. That's exactly what I meant, where I wanted to keep that, oh my gosh, I was going to say Arceus, that Colress in the deck. And they are going to swing 270 there. And this is not the hand I wanted to see. I think we would have been better off if they judged, but they actually just took the Iono, which is fine. So for now, I can smack down Cramorant. None of these cards really help me in this situation. Nest Ball doesn't feel too bad. Also, don't need to play it right now. Honestly, I think we just swing with Spit innocently and just take some good, a good bit more damage. I could shuffle the deck with Nest Ball, actually, which doesn't feel too bad. So maybe I do that and I get a 3rd Cramorant down. Just because I know I have a Colress and Roxanne on the bottom, and I would love for those to have a potential to be now the top 2 cards in my deck. So my opponent is at 290 cards. Or 290 cards. Oh my gosh, 290 damage. Dude, I said this was an episode for me yapping. I can't even do that right. I can't talk. We've got 290 damage. If they swing for KO, well, we're taking the KO with Cram, and that definitely doesn't feel bad. I can 100% go Pokestop. We've got so many items in this deck. That doesn't feel bad too thin at all. And they get rid of 2 Iono and a Pokestop of their own, which definitely hurts. And there is the Dusknoir that I was talking about. We'll see if they could pull off Rare Candy Dusknoir this turn. Arceus has been sitting there for a long time. I'm curious if it's just a 1-1 line, because there's an Arceus V-Star in the discard pile, and I have not seen any more Arceus Vs or V-Stars. So it might just be the 1-1 for Starbirth, now that I'm thinking about it. But it is a heavy Dusknoir line. I mean, most Dusknoir decks, or most Charizard decks don't play 3 Duskulls. I feel like it's usually just a 2-1, so that's definitely interesting, and we'll see here how my opponent responds. We get a Pal Pad, which is good, actually, because I'm going to Pokestop first, try to get a Pokégear, and then I'm going to Pal Pad, and that's close. That's not exactly what I was looking for, but it's not the end of the world, so we can Pal Pad here, take back 2 Colress. That should hopefully help us a little bit. I could go Counter Catcher, but there's no one really worth swinging into right now. I think I'd rather just take the 2 prize cards off Charizard and fall down to 1. And then maybe we can go Gust onto Duskull if I could get Boss's Orders even. That wouldn't feel bad. Or even Arceus, and just leave that guy stuck in the active. Although I could do that now. My opponent might not have a switch out, to be fair. Because I don't want to drop down to 1 prize card totally, because then Defiance Band won't work. I guess we could look for Crisis Punch. I don't know. It just feels kind of rough, to be honest, but full sense. We'll take the 2 prize cards off Charizard. And then we'll hope we can maybe get a Boss or Pokégear off the Pokestop next turn. which is kind of why I didn't want to bump that stadium. There's Crisis Punch. Never mind. That should wrap up the game rather nicely. I didn't even realize that was prize, thank God. So as long as we can dodge Judge or Iono this turn, we'll be okay. And my opponent goes Rare Candy Dusknoir, which is interesting. And Research is not a Iono or Judge, so that's good. And they fall down to 3 cards in deck. They can get 1 out of the discard pile. But if my opponent actually uses Dusknoir, well, we'll win, because they will KO themselves, giving us our last prize card. So that kind of puts them in an interesting spot too. And we got Crisis Punch in hand. I'm curious to see if they actually do the Dusknoir, if they, you know, kind of forget about that whole thing. I know they're not playing Unfair Stamp. We saw the Crisis Punch earlier. There's not much I feel like they could search for with Starbirth either. Like, I don't think they can take 2 KOs this turn, at least not with just Radiant Charizard, and they Curse Blast. Well, that's, it's fine by me. I mean, hey, look, if they attacked the Radiant Charizard, we went Cram, we went Crisis Punch. If they Curse Blast, which they did, boom. Match number 1. Closed out like that. Again, all we needed, Articuno and Cramorant. That is ridiculous, dude. This was a wild deck to play against, and we had an awful start, and we still pulled it off. A little bit of stress, but not too much. I mean, you know, we were kind of just chilling for most of the match. So let's hop into match number 2 and see if Cramorant can take some more names. Welcome to match number 2. I'm not gonna lie, this hand is pretty atrocious. We got no Call Bells, I got no Colress, I got no Pokégears. Honestly, I really don't have much that's playable at all, but we are up against Goldengo, and it's not the end of the world if we don't pull off the turn 1 attack. I mean, you guys saw in last match number 1, we're still okay. We'll pull it off. We'll figure it out. Especially if my opponent just benches 2 gimme ghouls, they might not have the best hand either. But we'll see what our top deck brings us. Literally never punished, man. I don't know why I worry and I stress over these things. I'm totally fine. So here, I think we want to take Boss's Orders. We can pull off the turn 1 attack. We got the Vacuum, we got Pokemon League Headquarters, which is huge. I like Irida for next turn to get out my Articunos, because we will need a little bit more damage to deal with these gimme ghouls. And I think here, honestly, about to go Pokemon League Headquarters, about to smack down Lost Vacuum, about to get rid of the Jet Energy. I feel like it's the most cuttable card. I like Rod for the late game, especially if I prize, you know, a couple of my Pokemon retrievals. I'm going to need those back. This just allows me to swing 110. I've got plenty more switches. I've got a lot more switches than I do recovery cards, and I think that's kind of where my mindset is at. Next turn, we go Irida. We take out a Cramorant if they take the KO. If not, we go Articuno and Precious Trolley. And then we get the rest of our Pokemon in play. I like taking Cram more. Actually, you know, I think no matter what, we take Cram off Irida, because then we Precious Trolley and get all of our Articunos on the bench immediately. So my opponent goes Irida themselves. So they got Energy Search Pro, so they can get all the energy they need out of hand, as well as rating Greninja, so they can discard cards and really start getting the ball rolling. And all we did was get the first attack, and this is kind of where it's like, oh man, we should be a little scared. You know, they're getting set up. Dude, they're going to get it set up no matter what. We're not worried. We're taking, you know, 1 attack per turn. We're not overthinking it. We're swinging for whatever we could swing for. We're hopefully 2-shotting everything. Goldengo isn't super tanky, so even if they take out an Articuno or 2, or we can't find Defiance Band, we should still be able to shoot 2-shot it kind of nicely. But what's nice is I can clean up for a boss KO on Greninja. Crisis Punch swings for KO on Goldengo, which could take 2 prize cards. Like, there's so many things in this matchup that allow me to keep the ball rolling. Plus, my opponent has to bid 3 energy every turn to just take 1 prize card. Like, sure, it's not a lot of energy, but it's annoying nonetheless. And they go Pheasantipity to flip the script. Yeah, they're drawing a huge hand. I'm just saying, halfway through the game, Roxanne about to go a little crazy. Roxanne's about to take names next turn, and they need to start getting more gimme ghouls down, or in 2 turns, this Goldengo will fall. And they go Pokestop. Alright, it's not bad. We'll see what they mill out. They get Buddy Buddy Poffin and Ultra Ball. So they actually kind of get the perfect Pokestop there. I'm not going to lie. I just said they need to get more gimme ghouls out, and, well, they could get 4 of them this turn if they please. I mean, their bench isn't big enough for that, but they could theoretically. You never know. They might Ultra Ball for Terrapagos. They would never. And then play Area 0 Under Depths, which actually they can't do because they played Pokestop this turn. Whatever. Like I said, I'm just here to yap this turn. There's the Make It Rain, nice and early. Gonna get rid of 3 energy. I know they got it. We saw them take about 40 out of their deck with that Energy Search Pro. So we know that they got a couple turns worth of KOs, which is fine. because so do I. So they swing 150, they get rid of 3 energy, take 1 prize card, and I promote the Cram. And then we could go for a big Irida Precious Trolley play. We'll heavy ball, see if anything is stuck in here. Crisis Punch. Alright, that could be bad. And that energy or Pokemon recovery. I had a feeling it was there. Crisis Punch will have to get a little lucky. Hoping we could dig it out. What's nice though, we didn't prize Precious Trolley. So I could take Cramorant and then I could dig through this, take the Precious Trolley. Boom, the board is set up for at least a little bit. So now I got 3 Pokemon in play. I got Precious Trolley to get down all the Articunos. And now we are swinging for pretty much max damage as far as I'm concerned. If my opponent takes the KO next turn and I still don't get Colress, I will promote Cram again. And then if they take another KO, we go Roxanne. Boom, we got a new hand. So we will be ready to rumble. For now, we're swinging with Spit Innocently for 150 damage. Putting the ball in my opponent's court, allowing them to get ahead on prizes, also putting them in an awkward position where we can then rob back our Cramorants, promote another Cram, swing for KO, and boom, we're tied up on prizes from there. And then hopefully we get Crisis Punch, man. I just want to see the Crisis Punch. If not, it's not the end of the world. I can gust up a Radiant Greninja, get myself on even prize cards, and they go Pokemon Catcher. Honestly, I so much would prefer them KOing Articuno right here than a Cramorant. Like, that's totally fine by me. Surprisingly, we're swinging for, like, I feel like great damage overall, you know, and they get Togekiss. Okay, that's gonna be annoying, I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually tempted next turn to boss up Togepi. I really don't want to deal with that thing. What's this ability? Such a Happiness. May heal 10 damage from your active Pokemon. Ooh. Oh, no, but they Buddy Poffined it. Okay, that makes sense. Did they get Rare Candy here? No, they lost a Goldengo EX, but they got Superior Energy Retrieval and Nest Ball. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I am so tempted to just boss up Togepi, take the KO. We could always take a KO on another Goldengo, especially when we got Boss's Orders in hand. We could even look for Counter Catcher, which doesn't feel bad. If they flip heads and hit an extra prize card, that's kind of where I start to really worry. That's kind of where we start to fall apart. I think now I want to just get ahead. I don't even want to give them the chance to potentially let that happen. I also don't know how much HP Togekiss has. We might not be able to one-shot it. We might have to use Defiance Band, which doesn't feel awful, but I'd still rather not. So yeah, I think I'm going to put myself back on the even prize. Take that guy. I've got another boss in hand. I'll take out this Goldengo now, later, at some point. I'm not too worried about when that happens. And they go the Metal Energy. They set up their second Goldengo. They've used their coin bonuses. I think now we're about to see a Make It Rain, because there should be no other abilities unless they want to concealed cards, but I don't see the point of that totally. They take 1 more energy out of the discard pile. I guess they needed 1 more for the KO, possibly. I'm not sure. Here's the Make It Rain. I'm sure we'll see that Fire Energy hit the discard pile again, and that might tell me that they're running a little low in energy. They might have to start using Superior Energy Retrieval, and there it is. Yeah, it might be coming soon. And also, these energy look so good. Oh my gosh. I'm kind of obsessed with these. I don't think I've used the hollow, like, broken glass looking energies. I don't know what set that's from. I would assume Surging Sparks, because I haven't seen those in a while, and I don't have any. So, we can attack this turn. I'm honestly tempted to go Pokestop. See what I can get off this. Just dig a little deeper. I don't have to. Is there anything I need that's worth it? To be honest, I don't know. I think so. Maybe get like a Night Stretcher back or something just for another Cram, maybe. So we'll Pokestop and we'll lose Defiance Band, which is okay, but we do get a Night Stretcher, which is huge. So this will allow me to get another Cram in play right now. So I've got a backup attacker for next turn. And that's what I'm the most worried about. So then I think here we are going to go boss. I'm going to take out Togepi. I don't want my opponent flipping extra prize cards. It's just, that's not, that would ruin how we play out the rest of this game. I'm not going to lie. That would do it. And we get Colress, which feels so good. I love getting Colress. It allows me to dig a little deeper. And they promote the damaged Goldengo. Why didn't you promote the undamaged one? All right. You know what? Don't complain, Chris. Just run with it. But we didn't get the, what do you call it? Crisis Punch. So that's a problem. But that's okay, because they gave me the damaged Goldengo. So hopefully I can still take 2 prize cards here and go Roxanne. I was worried that they would give me this Goldengo at full HP, and then I would have to go Roxanne. Hope I get Counter Catcher. But, you know, then it's like, oh, I could have used Boss, taking 2 prize cards, but no, I want to go Roxanne because they got 8 quadrillion cards in their hand. Well, now I can at least go Roxanne. Sure, they'll be able to use Fez. I'll be taking a KO. You can't win them all. You know, at least we nerfed their hand down from 17 plus 1 because they still got access to coin bonus and 2 if they use concealed cards. So they could get an even bigger hand still. And they get Pokemon Catcher Nest Ball. Honestly, take out the Articuno, man. Like, flip heads. Keep my Crams in play. It doesn't bother me. Yeah, sure. That's fine. Okay. I mean, they're really itching to take out those Articunos. That's okay. We need 3 in play to 2-shot your Goldengos, and I can just rod my Articunos back. I've got plenty of Pokemon search. I still have all my Nest Balls, I believe, in the deck. Maybe we lost on one. Actually, I don't remember. Did I ever? I don't know. No, I didn't. So I still have 4 Nest Balls in the deck, unless one is prized, which isn't the end of the world again. So my opponent is going to get 4 energy back from the discard, which is fine. I'm about to hit him with that Roxanne after they get rid of 3, and we'll see how they follow up with that. The other big plus about this deck, which I don't think I mentioned, we're only playing single prizers. They got rid of... Oh, no, they're swinging for weakness. Duh. That may make sense why they want to take it. Conserve energy a little bit more. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Okay. That's fair. Well, anyways, here's Cramorant. Anyway, I was saying, they got 9 cards left in the deck. They might not have all of the energy needed to close out this match. For now, we are going to play our stadium, give them that little stadium bump, and then I think we're just going to hit into a Roxanne. I don't need to rod yet. I think I'm just going to smack this down. Knock my opponent's hand down to 2. Take a couple prize cards as well, and now we get into a bit of a rough start where I don't have the Pokemon I need in play. Honestly, I drew into a whole lot of switch cards and not much else, so we'll swing 140, take the KO. We got 290 damage done in total, which is great. And then my opponent can easily draw into a massive hand. Sure. Crisis Punch. There it is. That's all I need. All right. As long as this stays in my hand and my opponent doesn't play any sort of hand disruption, whew, we just gotta wait for them to take 2 prize cards and boom. Swinging 280 damage, nothing they can do about it. Plus 30 damage from Articunos. So you know what? We actually could get up to 320, which I didn't really think about in that Dragapult matchup. I did play against Dragapult once in my warm-up match, and Crisis Punch was prized. It was actually the last prize card. I did get away with the match, though. I was able to use switch cards on the Articuno enough, and that's when I realized Phantom Dive is literally the world's worst attack. I had a banger of a start, and it was like my first game with the deck, and I was like, yo, this deck is way better than I thought it would be. This deck is nuts. So, you know, it's pretty exciting to see. Happy, though, that so far we're not dealing with Dragapult. That attack is hard, man. Phantom Dive is not what you want to see. As long as your opponent's just swinging damage onto one Pokemon, and you don't have to worry about healing your Articunos, you're chilling. The second you have to worry about healing Articunos is when things get a little messy. My opponent did gust up an Articuno. How did they do it? I wasn't paying attention. I'm pretty sure I was just looking at the counter more. Camera more. They went counter catcher. So now is when I go Night Stretcher for Articuno. I am swinging 130 though, which doesn't feel too bad. I still feel like I should just take out an Articuno to take out the Articuno just in case, right? I don't know. I'm going to. You never know when they play some tool that buffs their HP or something like that. Just give me the Articuno. We got 2 Crams. We got 2 Crams and a switch card in case they go Gust. So, like, we're good. We'll swing 140 here. Very confident, comfortable, fine with this. And next turn, we go Crisis Punch for KO. Or just swing onto their active and KO, although I like the Crisis Punch. I like using Crisis Punch. I feel like you rarely see this card pulled off in perfect plan. Well, this is kind of the plan with this deck. It ends up in your hand at the end of the game. Your opponent hopefully doesn't play any hand disruption. It goes back over to you. Boom! 280. There's the KO. So my opponent is going to conceal the cards. They cannot use Flip the Script. We did not take a KO. They get another Goldengo. So if they can switch or retreat and get an energy set up on their benched Goldengo, well, they'd have full HP, which would be annoying. We've got Boss for game on the, assuming they bench, they pivot out of the active, or we could just go Defiance Band, which is more fun, so I'm probably going to do that. They get Buddy Buddy Poffin out of the Pokestop and Stadium Bump, which allows them to get more basics down. That shouldn't really help them, and they concede. They would have left their Pokemon in the active spot, and this is what I mean. You rarely get to see Crisis Punch played. It's because of this. When it's perfect and you can play Crisis Punch, your opponent doesn't let you. We knew it would have happened, but we didn't get to see it. Either way, though, match number 2 complete. Cramorant has taken down Charizards and Goldengos all the same this video. We'll see what match number 3 brings us, and if it's something spicy, we could get the perfect record. Well, I don't remember what our opening hand was in match 1, but this might be the 3rd match, where, I'm hoping my top deck is Colress, because this is not ideal either. But, we've got Cram, we got Articuno, we are going second, so it's not the end of the world. Sadly, I got double Roxanne. You know, you play for Colress, you got a higher chance of drawing Colress, and what do you get? You get your other Roxannes, which are way more useless, so that really doesn't help us. My opponent is probably playing Goldengo or Archaladin. Actually, never mind, I take it back. They're definitely playing Archaladin. I was going to say, they're getting rid of a lot of metal energy. I just played Goldengo, now it's kind of at my head. No. This is what we expected to see. I made this deck. Or found this deck as a fun way to beat Archaladin. It's a fun single prize deck. I mean, Star Cronus gets a little complicated, but Crisis Punch will make the math back. And they get the energy attached to Pheasantipity to allow them to retreat into Duraludon. So if we can take the KO with Spit instantly, that would be huge. But we need the top deck of our life. Boom, there it is to pull it off. Anyways, Colress, what are we getting? We're getting a Tool, we're getting Colress, we're getting Irida, I guess. Alright, that's a little anticlimactic, but it's not the end of the world. Actually, I got rid of... No, I didn't get rid of Defiance Band. I might have to, though, if I want to get a good swing here. Do I need to get a good swing here? Does it really matter that much? I don't think it does. My opponent pulls off the KO. They did get a supporter off that Pokégear, right? They did. They got Iono. They might play Iono. That's honestly fine. I'm trying to think if it matters if I swing here. If we do 110 damage, I don't think there's a world we do 190. The most we can do is 180, which doesn't take the KO. I'm thinking 180 if I get a full bench next turn off of Irida. We're down a prize because they took one, and then I can use Defiance Band. Well, although it would be in the loss zone if I do that. No, I don't think it matters. 110 plus 180 is 190, or 290, which is 10 damage short of KOing Archaladin. Ultimately useless. I'd rather use 2 attacks and keep my Defiance Band for maybe later it might actually matter because my opponent Star Chronos 2 Articunos and now I need Defiance Band to clutch up that damage back. I'm mathing too hard. I don't need to. Regardless, if they're going to evolve, this damage isn't going to matter, and if they don't evolve, well, I'm using Irida and I'm getting everything I need in play anyways. So my opponent is going to lose Boss, Iono, Research. There's some good supporters in the discard pile, and there's Archaladin in the active. So this is what I was talking about. You know, it's sure we're losing, you know, our Cram, not the end of the world. We'll pick back up. I don't know how we'll do it, but my gosh, do I know we'll do it, and we'll do it just fine. So my opponent is going to swing 220 damage, take the KO, allowing Defiance Band to go into play, but I don't think I'll need to do it. I mean, I guess I might this turn. Now I might have to get rid of Defiance Band to go Irida and get Cram plus Precious Trolley, to be fair. And as long as we have all of our Articunos, or like most of them, we'll be able to pull it off. Alright, we'll see what our prize, we'll see what our top deck is, not our prize card. Sorry, I was reading my opponent, opponent's taking a prize card. They're going to get Articuno down, and we are going to see what we top deck. We get a Nest Ball there, actually, so this is good. This allows us to check the deck, kind of see what's going on. So we're going to get a Cram. We've got all of our Articunos. We've got all of our Crams. The deck is Precious Trolley. Here it is. All right, so that's actually... And we got Crisis Punch. That's all I needed to see. Irida's a play. I'm going to get rid of Defiance Band. It just... Get all my Pokemon in play. Get this out of the way. We're going to take a Cram in hand. Going to go Precious Trolley. I'm going to smack down Cram. I'm going to Precious Trolley for 3 Articunos. Get all these guys set up. Boom. Swinging for plenty of damage. Doing everything I need to do. Now I can attach the Defiance Band. And then we can't attack yet, can we? No, we got 2. Okay, yeah. So we're going to attach the Defiance Band. Use the Lost Vacuum. We're going to get rid of Jet Energy. I've got a Colress in hand. We got 1 switch if I need. And then I'm going to get rid of the Tool. That will allow me to switch into Cram. And boom. Swinging 150. My opponent can take the KO this turn, no problem. That will, however, allow us to swing for KO next turn, so that does feel pretty good as well. Then I can pop off with some Colresses, maybe deal with my opponent with an effective mid and late game Roxanne. That might honestly save us a lot of trouble, especially if we could dodge those Turo plays from my opponent. That is not something I want to see. Star Chronos, especially being down in attack, we could not pull off that turn 1 attack for enough damage. Definitely not something I want to see either. So I'm curious to see how my opponent responds here. I'm hoping it's just a KO. They got 6 cards in hand. They can't use Flip the Script. And I've got a dream with Colress's experiment that, to be honest, I don't really know what I'm looking for. No, they just go Metal Defenders. So that's it. They're just going to take their one more prize, get 7 cards in hand, and they'll be able to flip the script and top deck. They'll have like 50 cards in hand next turn, and then I'm going to boom, throw it all away, go with Roxanne. So anyways, Cram. And now we might need a Rod or a Night Stretcher or something like that. We get a Switch. That's actually pretty big. We lost 1 Night Stretcher. I'll see if I get something back with this Colress. I'll take it, actually. Rod, Nest Ball, maybe Switch Cart. I don't even hate another Nest Ball, to be honest. But I like having a Switch out in hand. I do have 1 Switch out in hand, though. And I feel like I'm not going to need many against this deck. I'll take this. I like the double Nest Ball, just so I can Rod back these Crams. I know they're in the deck. And I can Nest Ball one immediately. I should have 1 more Cram in the deck, though, right? Yeah, I do. Alright, perfect. So I'll wait till 3 Crams are KO'd, and then I'll Super Rod them back, because I've got that type of luxury right now. For now, swinging for KO, we're taking 2 prize cards, tying up our opponent on 4 prize cards. So they can't use Counter Catcher, but they can do a lot of other things to make me a very scared individual. And we get 2 Switch cards out of the prizes, which is pretty big, knowing I've been lost owning Switches left and right. We got, what, 2, 3 Switch outs in there? We got 2 Switch outs and a Defiance Band. That's a little painful, but not the end of the world yet. We'll see how my opponent responds. All they need is a Metal Energy plus an Arch-Aladdin EX, and I'm back to being a little bit terrified. They'll be able to take the KO. I'll also be able to start Roxanning my opponent into oblivion and see how they respond from that. What's nice, too, is we're using Roxanne. We're not taking a KO next turn unless they don't evolve. But if they don't evolve, we're not gonna Roxanne. They won't be attacking, really. But what that means is my opponent can't flip the script, which is very, very important, because they will stay at 2 cards for even longer. And I'm surprised they didn't go Duraludon in there. I thought they would have, so they could get more Arch-Aladins in play to set up Dialga, but instead they're going to get rid of some more energy, take some more energy out of the deck, concealed cards, dig a little bit deeper. So my opponent is doing all sorts of digging this turn. Good. Let them dig out everything they want. They got 10 cards in hand. Next turn, they're going to have 11 after they take a prize card and evolve and attack and whatnot. I'm about to make it 2. So I ain't too worried just yet. And again, if they don't evolve, sure, we can't Roxanne. They're not attacking. Like, why would I start complaining? I'll take my extra prize card, but that's fine by me. That just kind of means my Star Chronos math might be a little better. If I can make that early poor setup and attacking, if I can make that a little better, I'll just feel a bit better. And they get rid of Fez for Duraludon. That's actually nuts. I'm not going to lie. That caught me off guard, popping Thornton there. So now when we do take KOs, Fez is in the discard pile. That's going to be a hard one to get back unless they get Night Stretchers, which they might need to use for Arch-Aladins or something like that at this point. So they can take the KO. Roxanne's not going to feel too bad. And they go Jamming Tower, so their hand is getting smaller and smaller, which is annoying. And Relicanth, okay. That's fine. I kind of want them to keep all these whack cards in their hand because they're good cards that clog their deck and hopefully make Roxanne hit a little harder. But it's all good. It's all good. Can't complain. We're going to promote Cram, rip the Rod, play the Nest Ball, then Roxanne. And let's see what we top deck here. Anything that changes it? No. Another Switch card. We got 4 Switch outs in our hand. So first things first, get our attackers back. Second, let's get a backup attacker in play. Boom. Third, Roxanne. Put my opponent at 2 cards. And make me feel pretty good going into the next turn. Sure, they can attack with Arch-Aladin. Hopefully that's all they are able to do. And that might buy us some time where they cannot set up Dialga. Maybe they can't play the game well next turn. For now, we're just going to spit innocently. We got Crisis Punch in hand, which feels very nice. However, I would love to Pokégear and just see if I could get 1 more Roxanne and just kind of knock my opponent's hand back down to size. Especially if they can't evolve here. Actually, that would be so big for us, I'm not going to lie. We'll see if they get a big supporter, a big evolution, anything like that. It's kind of scary. Anything short of that, we're sitting in the driver's seat, man. So my opponent for now is sitting there staring at 3 cards. Something tells me they don't got nothing. They got a Pal Pad. Alright, they still got 2 cards in hand. I'm not going to lie. I don't even know if I want a Pokégear here. And look for a supporter. Maybe Colress. But I actually surprisingly don't want to go Roxanne. I mean, my opponent's had 2 prize cards. They've got 3 cards in hand. I know 2 of them were useless. One was Pal Pad. So I don't know. Don't really feel like getting rid of this hand. I feel like whatever they're sitting with, that's probably not perfect. We get a Pokemon League headquarters, not bad. I'll bump their stadium. I never know what my opponent is going to pull out to attack. We're going to play Night Stretcher. Just take backup Cram. We need a backup attacker for sure, because next turn is my Crisis Punch turn. And then I'm going to Pokégear. I also like having Boss Crisis Punch in the deck. And we fail the Pokégear. So all this talk about Roxanne, what I play, what I not, doesn't matter. I can't even find it. So, what's important? We're swinging for KO. We got 2 prize cards left. I got Boss Crisis Punch on Dialga V in hand. We will see how my opponent responds. All I know is they need to act now, because if they don't, I got game in hand. And they give me Dialga V here. So they need Dialga V-Star, double Arch Aladdin, manual attach. If they pull off that 4-card combo, well, I guess I deserve to lose. And they go Night Stretcher. Stop it. No, you're not actually pulling this off, are you? You take back Fez. Yeah, you might. There's a chance my opponent does pull this off. And that terrifies me. They've got 6 cards in hand. Now, those 4 cards, well, seem rather findable. They concealed cards, so they got some extra energy. They're drawing 2 more, digging a little bit deeper in their deck. I hate when my opponent plays the game. It makes me kind of scared, man. They got Ultra Ball, but they get rid of 2 cards with it. So then they get rid of Dialga, Jamming Tower. It's nothing they need. They could take a Dialga here, which might just be something to buy them time. Maybe they take Arch Aladdin. I don't know. They haven't played a supporter yet either, so they still do have access to that. I hope it's not Iono. I mean, if it is, that's a little scary, but they put themselves back down at 2 cards, which also doesn't feel too awful. I'm just kidding. It feels pretty awful because I lose Boss's Orders, Crisis Punch. Yeah, this is the one stressful thing about this deck. Every late game is really just down to the wire. I mean, this deck, it literally just sit here and attack with Cram. Can your opponent play the game or can they not? What did they take? They took a Dialga V-Star. So, and a Night Stretcher for Arch Aladdin. Oh my god, wait. Oh, wait, what did they take with that? That was Arch Aladdin, right? Yes, it was. Alright, so they guaranteed got the KO on Cram because they could assemble Alloy, get 2 energy attached to Dialga. They need the last 3 cards in their hand. They need one of them to be Arch Aladdin, one of them to be a basic Metal Energy. They could pull off Star Cronus win the game. There's not much I can do against that. But if they cannot, I'm just saying, it's a Crisis Punch win, man. All they need to do is swing. They got 3 cards. What's playable? They're taking a long time. I don't think they got it. They're taking too long. If they had it, they would have been excited. They would go boom Arch Aladdin, boom manual attach. They would have been flying through that. Like, oh my god, look, I got it. And I would have loved it. I would love to see, as much as I hate that I lost, I love to see my opponent get out of a tough situation. And this is a tough situation. Like, I would have loved to see them kind of get it like that. Yo, there's the Metal Blast. Our Crisis Punch on Dialga. Don't sleep on it, man. Don't sleep on my dog Cramorant. That's my homie right there. Anyways, yeah, no, I want to KO Dialga. I want Dialga to feel the Crisis Punch right now. I'm not going to lie. Boom, Crisis Punch. We just got to make sure we don't hit Spit innocently. I could take out Arch Aladdin for 320 damage. I want the Dialga. I need it. And that's actually the 320 needed for Dragapult as well. That's nuts. And that is a perfect record for Cramorant. Cramorant Articuno, that's it. Nothing else. We actually didn't even get Ditto this game. Never saw the Ditto play. It's just Cram. It's so wild. I'm not gonna lie, this deck is ridiculous. It's actually hilarious how strong it kind of is. It's consistent. It hits hard enough to take 2-shot KOs. Charizard's definitely more manageable. Dragapult's definitely the bad matchup out of all the matchups in the format. But if you can dodge your Dragapults, you swing really well into almost every single other deck, which is nuts. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching Cram beat up a whole bunch of different Pokemon. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, check out the Rogue Regional February 8th. Check out the Twitter channel, or Twitter page, I guess, if you haven't. I've been trying to grow the Twitter page. I do a little more posting on it. Been trying to get more active on it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content. I've been having a ton of fun getting stuff out to you guys and just building the community. It's a fun space to be in, and I'm happy to have all of you here celebrating that with me. So thank you guys so much. I hope you're having an epic day. With that being said, stay epic. Peace.